Have you ever witnessed a moment and every assumption is shattered by one person's unwavering determination and brilliant mind? Imagine entering a courtroom with nothing but passion and a self-taught knowledge of the law and turning every doubter's sneer into astonished silence. In today's story, a young man defies every stereotype with the force of his intellect and the power of his conviction. Get ready to be inspired by a journey that will challenge your beliefs about age, appearance, and the true nature of justice. The story. When 19-year-old Marcus Reed walked into the Brookhaven County Courthouse alone, a ripple of laughter and disbelief swept through the room. On that day, every eye in the courtroom was drawn not only to the austere presence of Judge Cynthia Maxwell but also to the slight, unassuming figure of Marcus, standing beside the defense table with nothing but a crumpled stack of handwritten notes. His attire, a loose-fitting shirt and a pair of scuffed sneakers, spoke of modesty, yet his grip on those papers betrayed an inner strength that would soon upend everyone's expectations. The courthouse walls, heavy with the legacy of countless verdicts and old disputes, resonated with a mix of anticipation and skepticism. Judge Cynthia Maxwell, known throughout the county for her formidable reputation and a no-nonsense approach to the law, presided over the court with a piercing gaze. She had built her career on the foundation of decisiveness and respect for legal procedures, and she was not about to tolerate any theatrics in her courtroom. As she peered over her glasses at Marcus Reed, her eyes flickered with a mixture of disdain and a hint of curiosity, a spark that would soon ignite an extraordinary legal battle. "Mr. Reed," Judge Maxwell began in a tone as sharp as the clack of her gavel, "you are well aware that this court does not take kindly to those who appear unprepared. Do you understand the gravity of showing up in this manner?" Her words, delivered with the authority of a seasoned jurist, carried an undercurrent of mockery, and a few suppressed chuckles from the gallery only added to the tension in the room. Marcus's response was measured despite the nervous tremor in his voice. "Yes, Your Honor, I do understand," he replied softly, his voice betraying both humility and a quiet resolve. A brief chuckle from the gallery, mingled with a subtle smirk from Judge Maxwell, suggested that she had already formed her verdict before Marcus had even begun his argument. With an imperious gesture, Judge Maxwell leaned back in her chair and folded her arms. "Very well, proceed, Mr. Reed. Let us see what you have prepared." There was a collective sense that this case was doomed from the start, a minor traffic dispute, after all, where a young man had dared to represent himself against the seasoned forces of the legal system. But what no one could have predicted was that behind Marcus's seemingly casual demeanor lay a secret brilliance that would soon unravel before everyone's eyes. As Marcus stepped forward, the shuffle of his worn sneakers echoed in the hushed space of the courtroom. He glanced briefly at the opposing side, a veteran attorney with decades of courtroom experience and a confident posture that suggested he expected an effortless victory. This opposing counsel, Mr. Anthony Ellis, offered Marcus a dismissive smile, as if to say that the outcome was already sealed. Yet, with that same calm, Marcus began to recount the details of the incident that had brought him to court, a disputed speeding ticket that many had assumed was a simple case of youthful recklessness. Rather than resorting to a generic defense, Marcus outlined the events with an extraordinary precision. He described the road conditions in minute detail, referenced specific locations where the officer had positioned himself, and even mentioned the exact angles and distances that were involved in the stop. His delivery was deliberate and humble, yet beneath that veneer of modesty was an unmistakable confidence that slowly began to build. The courtroom, which had once been filled with snickers and condescension, started to transform into a forum of quiet intrigue. Judge Maxwell, whose pen had been tapping impatiently against her desk, paused as Marcus cited a specific statute from the State Vehicle Code. According to Section 40802B of the California Vehicle Code, Your Honor, he stated with a measured authority, the method employed to determine my speed under the circumstances may not be admissible. The judge's expression shifted from one of scorn to genuine surprise. She had not expected such a detailed reference, let alone an application of legal statute by someone who had walked into her courtroom with such an unassuming appearance. A ripple of murmurs spread through the gallery as Marcus continued his presentation. He produced a meticulously sketched diagram from the evidence table, a diagram that, while not extravagant, was rich in detail. Every angle was accounted for, every distance measured with the precision of someone who had spent years studying the intricacies of the law. His diagram clearly demonstrated the impossibility that the radar gun, stationed in a less than optimal position, could have accurately captured his speed. The diagram not only challenged the reliability of the evidence but also subtly underlined the inadequacies of the officer's report. Judge Maxwell, caught between skepticism and an emerging respect, blinked as she weighed the evidence before her. "Mr. Reed," she said, her voice softer than before yet still laced with authority, "if you are not prepared to proceed, I will have no choice but to dismiss this case. Do you understand?" The courtroom erupted in a ripple of quiet laughter, a response that might have disheartened a less resolute individual. Yet, Marcus lifted his gaze with a steady resolve that belied his initial nervousness. "I am ready, Your Honor," he declared, his voice growing firmer with every word. Encouraged by the opportunity, Marcus began to outline his case in a methodical manner. He explained that his defense was not merely about a speeding ticket, it was about the integrity of evidence and the essential fairness that every citizen deserved in the face of legal proceedings. With careful articulation, he cross-examined the officer's report, pointing out inconsistencies and raising doubts about the reliability of the radar's calibration. His questioning was precise, every point delivered with a respect that contrasted sharply with the initial derision he had encountered. Mr. Ellis, the seasoned attorney representing the prosecution, attempted to interject with a dismissive tone. "Your Honor, this statute is irrelevant to the matter at hand," he argued, clearly unprepared for the technical challenge Marcus was presenting. But Marcus, unwavering and respectful, replied, "With all due respect, it is not irrelevant. The law requires verification and not mere assumptions." He then walked over to the evidence table and, with deliberate calm, presented his diagram once more. The detailed illustration left little room for doubt. Without the proper calibration record for the radar gun, the evidence against him was fundamentally flawed. A murmur of approval began to swell among the spectators. The initial laughter had given way to a quiet, almost palpable intrigue. Judge Maxwell's eyes narrowed thoughtfully as she considered the legal arguments presented before her. "Mr. Reed," she said, "you seem to possess a deep understanding of legal procedures that far exceeds what one might expect from someone of your age and experience. May I ask where you acquired such knowledge?" For a brief moment, Marcus hesitated before replying, "I have been studying law since I was 13, Your Honor. I even passed the bar exam last year." His admission sent shockwaves through the courtroom. The opposing attorney's eyes widened in disbelief, and even some members of the gallery exchanged astonished glances. Judge Maxwell leaned forward, her expression transforming from one of skepticism to that of a begrudging respect. "You are telling me that you are a licensed attorney at this young age?" she queried, her tone now softer, as if she were trying to reconcile her previous judgment with the undeniable evidence of Marcus's capabilities. "Yes, Your Honor," Marcus affirmed. "I have always had a passion for the law, but I also know that when I walk into a room, people often judge me based solely on my appearance. They assume that I do not belong here. Today, I am here not just to defend myself, but to prove that fairness and justice must be based on evidence and integrity, rather than on appearances alone. With that declaration, the courtroom's mood shifted dramatically. No longer were the murmurs of doubt or the mocking laughter present. Instead, there was a growing sense of respect, a recognition that a formidable legal mind was standing before them. Marcus continued to build his argument by meticulously dismantling the prosecution's case. He cited additional case law, articulated legal precedents with an ease that belied his youth, and cross-examined the officer's narrative with relentless precision. Every point he raised was met with a silence that spoke louder than any objection could. As he presented his final argument, Marcus's posture became that of a seasoned advocate. Standing tall, his voice was calm yet carried an undeniable authority. "Your Honor," he said, "this case is not solely about a speeding ticket. It is about ensuring that every individual, regardless of age, appearance, or background, is afforded the same standard of justice. If the evidence is flawed, then the charge against me, and against anyone in a similar position, is unjust." His words resonated deeply, causing even Judge Maxwell to pause and reflect. The judge's demeanor softened further as she studied Marcus with a mixture of awe and admiration. "Mr. Reed," she began, her voice now tinged with a rare warmth, "I must confess that I misjudged you when you first walked into this courtroom. Your preparation and legal acumen have surpassed what I have seen from many first-year attorneys." The gallery, which had been hushed in anticipation, now burst into scattered whispers of approval. Even Mr. Ellis, usually so confident in his own expertise, appeared visibly unsettled by the young attorney's presentation. Taking a deep breath, Marcus then moved to deliver his final, decisive statement. "The foundation of this case rests on the credibility of the evidence. Without proper calibration records for the radar gun, the evidence is not reliable, and the charge against me cannot stand on firm legal ground. I have prepared a motion to dismiss these charges based solely on these deficiencies." His tone was firm yet respectful, each word meticulously chosen to reinforce the principle of fairness that underpinned his argument. Judge Maxwell picked up the motion and flipped through the pages with a focused intensity. The room held its breath as she reviewed the detailed document, a document that was as impressive in its clarity as it was in its legal precision. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, she set the papers down and looked directly at Marcus. "This is remarkably well prepared, Mr. Reed, far beyond what I have come to expect from someone of your age," she declared. A brief but respectful silence enveloped the courtroom as even the most skeptical members acknowledged the strength of his argument. With a decisive rap of her gavel that resonated throughout the room, Judge Maxwell addressed Mr. Ellis once more. "Counselor, do you have a rebuttal?" she asked. The opposing attorney, visibly flustered and at a loss for words, could only manage a hesitant response before finally conceding, "No, Your Honor. The defense has presented a compelling argument." His inability to counter the legal points effectively only reinforced the mounting evidence of Marcus's capabilities. Judge Maxwell then turned back to Marcus, her tone carrying an unexpected warmth as she spoke. "Mr. Reed, I have come to a decision. I hereby grant your motion to dismiss the charges. Today, you have reminded us all that justice must not hinge on preconceptions or appearances. You have shown us that talent, dedication, and a deep understanding of the law can come from the most unexpected places." Her words, though measured, carried the weight of both admiration and a personal reckoning, a recognition that even she, a veteran of countless cases, could learn something from a young mind determined to seek the truth. As the courtroom slowly exhaled a collective sigh of relief, Marcus allowed himself a moment of quiet pride. His eyes met those of the gallery, now filled with newfound respect rather than the earlier mockery. He then turned his attention to the opposing counsel, whose earlier dismissiveness had now been replaced with a subdued acknowledgement of defeat. "Thank you, Your Honor," Marcus said, his voice steady yet humble. "I did not come here today to prove anyone wrong. I came to prove that I am capable of defending myself with truth and integrity. I came here to demonstrate that fairness is not a privilege reserved for a select few, but a right that should be extended to everyone." After the judge's final announcement, the gallery broke into a spontaneous applause that began quietly and then swelled into a robust ovation. Reporters and onlookers, who had once doubted the young man, now surrounded him with flashing cameras and microphones, eager to capture every word he had spoken. Outside the courtroom, the transformation was immediate. Whispers turned into excited conversations, and the story of Marcus Reed began to spread like wildfire. In the lobby of the courthouse, amid a flurry of reporters and curious onlookers, Marcus was immediately besieged by questions. "Is it true you passed the bar at such a young age?" one reporter called out, while another asked, "Did you expect to win today?" With a calm gesture for silence, Marcus raised his hand, a slight smile playing on his lips as he replied simply, "I came here to defend myself, just as anyone would. I expected nothing more than fairness." His measured tone and quiet determination only deepened the intrigue surrounding him. Meanwhile, back at home, Marcus's mother Janice Reed watched the unfolding events on the news with a complex blend of pride and worry. She had always known her son was special, possessing a spark that set him apart from his peers. However, she was also painfully aware of the harsh realities that society often imposed on young men like him. As calls of congratulations flooded her phone and messages of admiration poured in from family, friends, and even strangers, Janice's heart swelled with pride. Yet, the intensity of the day's events left her with a lingering concern for the challenges that lay ahead. The courtroom drama, once a minor traffic dispute, had erupted into a national sensation. Clips of Marcus's closing argument were shared widely on social media, garnering millions of views and igniting discussions across the country. The story had grown beyond the boundaries of Brookhaven County. It had become a symbol of resilience, a call to challenge stereotypes, and a reminder that true justice is rooted in fairness rather than preconceptions. As the day drew to a close, new opportunities began to emerge from the unexpected attention. Prominent law firms extended internship offers to Marcus, and advocacy groups heralded him as an inspiring example of perseverance. At the same time, skeptics attempted to downplay his achievement as a mere anomaly, a lucky break rather than the result of hard work and unwavering brilliance. Yet, for Marcus, every word of praise and every expression of admiration only strengthened his resolve to continue fighting for justice and fairness. In subsequent interviews, Judge Maxwell reflected on the case with a newfound humility. "Today, I was reminded that our duty as judges is not only to enforce the law but also to listen deeply and to be open to learning from unexpected sources," she confessed in a rare moment of self-reflection. "Marcus Reed's performance in this courtroom taught me that even the most seasoned professionals have room to grow and that our judgments must always be tempered by an openness to challenge our own assumptions." As the days turned into weeks, Marcus's story continued to resonate. Invitations to speak at schools and community centers poured in, and his message, one of perseverance, humility, and a relentless quest for justice, found an eager audience among young people and legal enthusiasts alike. He traveled across the nation, using his platform to mentor aspiring law students, advocate for fair treatment in the justice system, and remind everyone that one's worth should never be measured by appearance alone. Throughout his journey, Marcus remained remarkably grounded. Despite the national spotlight and the overwhelming media attention, he maintained his focus on the fundamental principles that had guided him from the very beginning. "I did not enter that courtroom to prove anyone wrong," he would often say in his speeches. I entered to prove to myself that I was capable of rising above the doubts and prejudices that so often cloud our judgment. I believe that if we judge less and listen more, we allow space for every individual's unique gifts to shine. Over time, Marcus's influence began to ripple through the corridors of power. His story sparked debates about the biases inherent in our legal system and the need for more inclusive approaches to justice. Law schools began to invite him to share his experiences with future generations of legal professionals, and his journey became a case study in how perseverance and preparation can defy even the most entrenched stereotypes. In one of his most memorable addresses at a community event, Marcus captured the essence of his experience with a statement that resonated deeply with his audience. "There are moments in life when people doubt us, when they assume we are not capable of achieving greatness," he said, his eyes scanning the room as if challenging every preconceived notion. "But those moments are not walls that confine us, they are doors waiting to be opened. The truth is, if we focus only on what we think someone can't do, we will never see what they are truly capable of." His words, delivered with sincerity and passion, left the audience in a contemplative silence that soon turned into a thunderous round of applause. As Marcus's journey unfolded, it became clear that his victory in court was only the beginning. The case that started as a dispute over a speeding ticket had transformed into a powerful movement for fairness and the recognition of untapped potential. His story inspired countless individuals, from young aspiring attorneys to everyday citizens who had ever been judged too quickly. In every conversation that followed, the recurring message was one of hope, a belief that talent and dedication can come from anywhere if given the chance. Even as challenges continued to arise, Marcus pressed forward with unwavering determination. Each step on his journey was marked by a quiet commitment to using his voice for change, to mentoring those who had once been dismissed because of their appearance or age, and to advocating for a legal system that truly embodied the principles of justice. His transformation, witnessed by Judge Maxwell herself, became a catalyst for broader change within the community. The judge, whose earlier assumptions had been so rigidly formed, began to approach every case with a newfound openness, listening intently rather than relying solely on her initial impressions. By the time the media frenzy had reached its peak, Marcus Reed had become a national symbol of perseverance and the embodiment of a new kind of justice, one that prizes evidence, truth, and the courage to challenge the status quo over superficial judgments. His every public appearance was met with both admiration and curiosity, as people sought to understand the secrets behind his formidable legal prowess. And through it all, Marcus remained focused on the future. He continued his studies, prepared for the challenges of further legal battles, and worked tirelessly to ensure that his platform would serve as a beacon for others who dared to dream beyond the limitations imposed by society. As the final moments of the courtroom drama faded into memory, a powerful legacy began to take shape. Marcus Reed's journey was more than just a personal victory, it was a reminder to everyone that fairness and justice demand that we look deeper than appearances, that we challenge our assumptions, and that we give every individual the opportunity to prove their worth. The story resonated in every corner of the nation, sparking debates, inspiring change, and reminding us all that even in the face of overwhelming skepticism, one person's dedication can change the world. In the end, as the courtroom doors closed on that historic day, the message was unmistakable: true justice is not measured by one's outward appearance or the weight of age, but by the strength of one's character and the relentless pursuit of truth. Marcus Reed's path had only just begun, and his story promised to inspire a generation to believe in the power of perseverance, to challenge bias, and to stand firm in the face of injustice. As we draw the final curtain on this remarkable journey, we are left with a message that reverberates far beyond the walls of any courtroom, a message that challenges each of us to rethink how we view the world around us. Marcus's story, full of unexpected twists and profound revelations, serves as a powerful reminder that the measure of a person is not found in the surface details or the preconceptions we often hold, but in the depth of their character, the strength of their conviction, and their willingness to rise above adversity. Consider for a moment the transformation that occurred in that courtroom. What began as a scene filled with skepticism and dismissive laughter evolved into a moment of clarity and respect, a turning point where the true potential of a young mind was acknowledged and celebrated. Marcus entered the room as a figure that many had underestimated, his appearance and quiet demeanor leading others to form hasty judgments. Yet, with every word and every meticulously crafted argument, he dismantled the assumptions that clouded everyone's eyes. His methodical approach, steeped in years of self-education and driven by an unwavering commitment to justice, not only won him the case but also redefined what it means to truly understand and uphold the law. The lesson here is both simple and profound: never allow external perceptions to dictate the value of a person or the outcome of an important endeavor. In our daily lives, we are constantly bombarded with quick judgments, whether in our personal interactions, at work, or in the broader social arena. Marcus's journey teaches us that when we take the time to look deeper, to listen carefully, and to appreciate the substance behind the surface, we discover talents and virtues that are often hidden beneath layers of bias and misconception. It is a call to all of us to challenge our own assumptions, to foster an environment where every individual is given a fair chance to prove their worth, and to embrace the idea that true capability is often found in the most unexpected places. Moreover, this story invites us to reflect on our roles as both observers and participants in the pursuit of justice and equality. It reminds us that fairness is not a passive state but a dynamic process, one that requires vigilance, empathy, and the courage to speak up when something isn't right. Marcus's victory was not just a personal triumph, it was a beacon of hope that illuminated the possibility of change, a spark that ignited conversations about inclusion, perseverance, and the importance of looking beyond stereotypes. As we step forward, let this narrative be a catalyst for introspection. Ask yourself, how often do we judge a book by its cover? What hidden talents or stories might we be overlooking simply because they don't fit our preconceived notions? In a world that is too quick to label and too slow to listen, Marcus's example challenges us to pause and reconsider: are we truly open to the depth and diversity of human potential, or do we let biases and appearances cloud our judgment? The power of this story lies not just in its dramatic courtroom showdown, but in its enduring call for a more thoughtful, inclusive society. It reminds us that every individual, regardless of age, appearance, or background, has the capacity to shine if given the opportunity. And so, as we close this chapter, we invite you to carry this lesson with you into your own life. Reflect on the moments when you may have underestimated someone and consider how a simple shift in perspective could reveal a world of untapped potential. What will you do when you encounter someone who defies your expectations? Will you choose to listen, to learn, and to discover the extraordinary within the ordinary? Let Marcus's journey inspire you to break free from the confines of superficial judgments and to embrace a future where fairness and true understanding reign supreme.